Have we ever stopped to think that with cosmic rust cured with an antidote that it would never come back? But what if it never was cured? What if Perceptor was never able to create Kurostop or any kind of cure enough to cure both the Autobots and Decepticons on Earth in 1984? Let's find out on the other side of the Matrix.
The other side of the Matrix.
So with the Cosmic Rust episode, the likes of Astro Train and Megatron will still discover Cosmic Rust and they will still become infected. It would still lead to the point that Perceptor gets kidnapped by the Decepticons to find a cure, particularly when Megatron becomes badly infected. But at the start of this episode, Perceptor already has a cure for rust made ahead of time that happens to be the cure for Cosmic Rust. But let's say in this timeline, in this event, that there is no cure ahead of time and there will not be one. What happens then? So Megatron becomes badly infected, captures Perceptor and proceeds to ask him for a cure. And really under gunpoint, Perceptor doesn't have a choice. What can Perceptor do? Well, he uses his tools to the best he can, but he has limited resources. Remember, these are two clans or factions of Transformers that have crashed on a planet that they are just about getting to grips with understanding. They certainly have not got their tools that they would have back on Cybertron. So what can they do? What could Perceptor do? I would think in this particular chain of events that Perceptor would possibly find a way to reduce it but not outright cure it. And in fact the plague, as we have seen in Transformers before, would spread throughout. The entire Decepticon base becomes overrun with cosmic rust, and with Perceptor being caught as well, with the Autobots likely trying to free him and rescue their comrade back. It's only a matter of time before the Autobots get infected as well. So what happens then? You have two bases with the Nemesis and the Ark, with the Transformers in between, both riddled with this cosmic rust, and they are not in a position to do anything about it. They have to get back to Cybertron pretty urgently. This is harking back as well to the Cybertronium, how the fact that there is something that they need that is in short supply on the planet they're on, they have to go back to their home planet in order to get what they require. This is harder because the space bridge is available, but they run the risk of bringing the plague of the cosmic rust to Cybertron for anyone who's left to try and get a cure. But someone has to go back there in order to work on a cure. I would think Megatron will be straight on the phone to Shockwave and say, I need a cure made up immediately, and I will send you one of my expendable troops, which will likely be one of the many reflectors, to work on this and try and work on it in quarantine. But as such, the Autobots will know that Megatron will keep any cure that he finds for himself. They will have to devise their own plan. I would then think, being that the space bridge is the only realistic way to get to Cybertron, that you would get a scouting party to try and board the space bridge with a bit of an armed unit. So we've seen that before, a scouting party containing the likes of Perceptor, maybe Sideswipe, maybe Ironhide, try and sneak onto Cybertron in order for Perceptor to create a cure of his own. Now this is whilst they are all riddled with cosmic rust. They are going to be fatigued. No one's going to be in the mood for fighting. They know they are both in a race against time, but they also know that they have the advantage. Megatron will know that he has access to the space bridge and he's able to keep the Autobots at a weakened state while he holds a monopoly. So he'll want to keep the Autobots at bay for having a leverage in the war at the same time that he is decaying, possibly faster than anyone else. This is where it is a race against time. The question is, if Perceptor does not get a cure in time, if the rate of decay is too bad, what happens then? The only desperate attempt left is that all the Transformers pile into the space bridge and they have to flee back to Cybertron. You would argue, why didn't they do that to begin with? It was the fact that they were being kept on Earth was the amount of energon there, that Megatron wanted to harness it to take over the galaxy, and the Autobots were there to stop it. But when it's their own existence at stake, that plan gets put on hold, and they have to go back to Cybertron. War-torn Cybertron that they left with little to no energon was the reason why they left in the first place, just in order to survive. Now let's say they all get back, and it will take some time, and they may lose some comrades along the way to the rust. Eventually, Perceptor will have a cure lined up, I would have thought, and Shockwave probably as well, which they then resume fighting. But it actually means they flee Earth in the progress. They've left their ships behind. It's very unlikely that they get back there, at least anytime soon. Megatron would like to go back to Earth, knowing what he knows now, and knowing how he can go there with a more of an assault squad to take over Earth to do so, however weakened the Decepticon forces have been, and the Autobot forces as well. There is the outside chance that Shockwave and or Perceptor come up with a cure whilst the remaining Decepticons and Autobots are on Earth. They are weakened, they possibly lost comrades on the way, but the cure is sent back to Earth and they are restored. It kind of finishes off the Cosmic Rust episode, but at what cost? Some numbers have been dwindled and lost, the war will be effective, and it could actually have a chain of events knocked on. If, say, the Dinobots got hurt, what other future events, like the Cybertronium, could come into play? The desertion of the Dinobots, for example, might not have happened. It's a real case of who's who, as to who gets taken out and who remains. But the more likelihood is that both the Autobots and Decepticons are so weakened and crippled by the Cosmic Rust with no cure on Earth to help them. Bear in mind that a cure wouldn't be overly readily available on Earth. This is a galactic disease that has not made its way to Earth yet if it wasn't for the Transformers, so it's unlikely that a pharmaceutical or a laboratory would have a cure just lying on the shelf for a disease that has yet to be exposed to the planet. So it would likely mean that the Transformers have to flee Earth to save their lives, and it goes back to where they started. The fact that they were leaving their homeworld that was war-torn and down on power to begin with, but they have to go back, otherwise they face going offline altogether. It's a bit of a bleak thought, isn't it? But then the whole episode was, however good an episode it was, and it gave a sense of desperation. If you think of it, if that cure was not discovered by Perceptor, if Coruscant was not found, corrosion stop, then what happens then? If the cure was not found, just like with the hate plague, what if the Matrix did not cure the hate plague? These things can spread exponentially with no vaccine available. So Perceptor was a lucky choice and lucky find for both the Autobots and Decepticons. Had he not have been there, had he been taken out, perhaps made offline or whatever, the whole of the circumstances could have changed. In another timeline, this could have happened. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What would happen if Coruscant wasn't around, if Perceptor wasn't around, or at least in the universe and timeline that we know? What would be the outcome to Cosmic Rust? Would it eat away at who's left? Would it be as desperate and as bleak as that, or would there be another alternative found through the likes of Ratchet, Wheeljack, maybe even Soundwave? Would it just get a cannibalistic tribe in the Decepticon side of things? Leave a note in the comments below. I'd like to know what you think. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button, because I will see you on the next one.